All right. Thanks for sticking around. So this is going to be a little mini lesson talking about blues, triads, jazz triads, whatever you like to call them, and about actually learning how to play them on the fretboard and how to connect them back to a larger shape. This past week I had a lesson that was prompted by this with one of my private students, and it kind of dawned on me that maybe there's a lot of people that really don't know how to formulate these chords. Now what's really cool about the guitar is all these chords can be tied back to a master shape, if you will. A lot of chords in general have smaller triads within them. So for example, if I play this G major chord, I have multiple triads within that chord, and that can also be with dominant sevens as well. So I can play this. No matter what it is, it could be major 7. If we wanted to do major 7, it would be like this. It doesn't matter what the chord variation is, but I can always tie these back to a larger chord shape. So when it comes to blues, we need to be really familiar with our chord tones and our intervallic relationships between them. So what do I mean by that? When it comes to building a chord, we need to understand what notes are comprised and the intervallic relationship between those notes in order to make those chords. This student of mine, good player, but his knowledge was lacking with how to build chords out of larger chord shapes. We were playing a B-flat blues, and he was just defaulting to these chords based on the roots and the fingerings. So I asked him to play a B-flat blues, and he immediately defaults to this. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem with that is he's not thinking about the names of the notes that are in these chords, whether he's playing this F7 or this E flat 7 or this B flat 7. He's not thinking about the names of the notes and why these are really important to understand. So when I'm building these little triad shapes, I'm basing them off of these larger shapes. Within each one of these chords is multiple different variations of these triads. So when I'm thinking about building a major chord, we'll just start with a major chord in general. So let's just say I'm in B flat major. I want to know the names of the notes that my fingers are actually playing. I just don't want to go position. I don't want to just say, okay, I'm 6, 8, 8, 7, 6, 6. That's a huge disservice to your playing because you're not actually being aware or cognizant of the notes that you're playing, which is where all of our triads are built, our arpeggios, and our improvisation. Whatever it may be. So if I'm just building this regular bar chord shape, and this will be applicable for anywhere you move it, this is the intervallic relationship. I'll have a root, I'll have a fifth, I'll have a root, I'll have a third, I'll have a fifth, and then I'll have a root again. Now if I make that a dominant 7, I would have a root, a fifth, a flat 7, a major third, a fifth, and a root again. So whenever I'm making a dominant 7 chord, I need to understand that I need to have a root, a major third, and a flat 7. So everybody always kind of asks, well, what does the flat 7 mean? The flat 7 is if you take a major scale, when I add in the flat 7 to make a dominant chord, I'm taking the 7th tone and I'm flatting it by a half step. That's how we get that dominant 7th tone, that flat 7. So if I'm playing this B flat 7, I'm playing this little dyad chord, or this little triad. I have a root, a flat 7, and a third. And that's built out of this larger chord shape as a whole. So I have B flat, A flat, or G sharp, depending on how you'd like to fancy it. And then I have D. That's my B flat 7. B flat, A flat, D. Root, flat 7, third. Now when I go to my E flat chord, I have this version of it, or I have this version. I want to choose to play this because it's a very minimal finger movement. So what do I have here? I have E flat, I have G, and I have D flat. That's my root, my third, and my flat 7. And then I just move that chord shape up. That's my F7. And where are these chords coming from? These chord shapes. Look where my fingers are at. I'm just taking the knowledge that I already know of my chords and I'm putting them into these little triads. And these are a lot more practical for comping, especially, you know, if you have this big chunky bar chord like that. If I'm playing with a band and I have a bass player, you know, walking the bass. They might get annoyed if I'm playing this big chunky chord, so I want to play the upper triads. Now I can take this little D chord shape, and I have my flat 7, my root, and my 5th. That's a rootless B7 chord, B flat 7. So I'm tying these all to these larger shapes. This B flat 7, I have this chord shape, I have this chord shape, I have this chord shape, I have this chord shape. It's amazing all these things that you can do with this just by analyzing the chords that you're playing and understanding where your fingers are actually on the notes that you're playing on the fretboard. So instead of playing this big chunky chords, I can just play these little chords. And that makes a lot more sense when it comes to comping. Obviously you want to use these intermixed with all of the different types of chord that you know. So I hope you guys like this. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Definitely check out my other lessons. And if you'd like to go any of this in further, consider taking a private lesson with me. I have a lot of different private students that have come from YouTube. I'd love you to join the roster. Rock on. Alright, thanks for sticking around for the lesson, guys. I hope you really digged it. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I will see you all in the next video.